So now let's get to the punchline question. If you surround yourself with nice, friendly people at vegan conferences, they're going to come up to you and they're going to go, I think you guys are wonderful. I love you. I love your book. And I like you guys very much. But this isn't Stephen, Hope, and Brittany's world. We share it with 7 billion people. And what people on the outside, people might smile and be friendly, but on the inside, people usually do what's good for them. I'm sorry if that's a little cynical or negative, but people seem to make decisions that are in their highest good, regardless of what they say. So for all the people out there who are saying to themselves, yeah, I don't know, I got a lot to worry about. I can't worry about animals. I can't worry about how animals are treated. What's in it for them? Why should a person care about how pigs and cows and chickens and fish are treated? Assume that a person is not as emotional or not as open or not as compassionate. Why should the average person? I care. I find it outrageous and horrifying, but a lot of people, again, this isn't my world. So why should people who are out there, the hundreds of millions of people, why should they care what we are doing to animals, how we raise them, how we torture them, how we kill them, what's in it for them? Why does it matter to them? Why does it matter to a selfish person?
Okay, I guess I'll start. Wow, that's a hard question to start with. Let's see. So numerous thoughts come up for me. One is that, I truly believe, and perhaps it's, my name and my nature, but I truly believe that people do actually care. I don't think that anyone wants to harm animals. I think that if we get onto a basic level of, that no one really wants to cause harm to animals, right? No one would consciously, at least most people, let's say, wouldn't consciously hurt an animal. The reason that they do is that it's convenient, it's natural, it's normal, it's everywhere, right? That's why they do it. And I think that ultimately people, I do have hope that people will see the light and will make the change once they are educated. The other thought I have on that is that we don't need everyone. We really don't. We need those caring people like Brittany, like you, like Steve, like us, to grow. And there's more of us. There's more growing all the time, more people getting interested all the time, more people that care when they hear about these things. Education is so important, getting the information out, because there are people that do care. There are people that will make change in their life, that will go to the store with that consciousness and make good choices. And we just have to get the information to them. And once that grows, if we can get the default to be vegan, this is this wonderful new thing that's happening where we're trying to get people to entities like cafeterias and other places to have the default be vegan, then I think it's going to be so much easier for people to make that choice, right? To just choose vegan if it's easy, if it's convenient. As long as we can do that, it's going to spread, it's going to get bigger, it's going to, that kind of movement will start to grow. And the other thing too, I think that is a huge factor though, is bringing it back to the animals, bringing it back to individual stories of animals. It's good to have stats and figures and talk about all that, but to connect individually with an animal, like on a sanctuary, and hearing those individual stories, I think that is going to get people to care. They love companion animals. Many people now are having companion animals, dogs, cats, potbelly pigs, all kinds of animals now, ferrets. People are bringing animals into their lives, into their homes, and they love those animals. And as long as we can show them that the pigs, the chickens, the turkeys, the cows that are in these horrible systems, that they suffer just as their companion animal would, they're going to connect to that. And so I think that a big part of it is speciesism, really, is trying to break that and debunk that that human superiority complex, right, that we have, that we feel that we are the only species that matters. And we know now that the animals suffer, they feel pain, they have emotion, they have individual personalities, they're clever, they're funny, some are, there's all kinds of different personalities. And we now know this from living with animals on sanctuaries. So ultimately, I'll just wrap it up by saying that I think people do care. I hope that people do care. And I think that once the information gets more widespread, these stories get out about individual animals, their sentience, their emotion, their desire to live free of human imposed suffering, then people will care, at least enough people that will spread that change.
Yeah, and just to echo what you're saying, Hope, I agree with everything you have said. And I do feel that with the animals aside, which that's my primary focus, is the animals and the treatment of animals and how unjust and unethically they are treated. And so, first and foremost, animals deserve the right to their lives. They deserve justice. They deserve to live free from harm at the core, at a base level. But in addition to that, we have the environment, which is huge, and our planet is being faced with crisis. And we have our own health. And so for the people that maybe are not inclined towards compassion for animals, or they're just not going to connect on that level of animals deserve justice, they're individuals, they're sentient beings. If people can't wrap their mind around speciesism and that aspect of the whole picture, then we can appeal to them on an environmental and health. I mean, it all is connected. So it really all is so very important. And our planet is suffering greatly. We need the world to shift to vegan for so many reasons. We need a vegan world. And so I think that those areas are very important as well. There are, all the studies that show the harm that animal products cause to human health and the immense harm that the animal agriculture industry causes to the planet. I mean, for so many reasons and on so many levels. So
it's a great point. Great point, Brittany. Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys have more experience in this than me. So let me ask you this question. Do you think it's helpful to explain to people how they treat cows, pigs, chickens, dairy cows? In other words, I kind of feel like I'd like to explain it in detail, but I don't know. Is this something that you think is helpful? Does it traumatize people? Like, I kind of feel like if you don't even want to hear about it, then that's even more reason why we shouldn't be doing it. But are you okay to explain how they're treating animals? Or from your experience, is this not a technique that you feel is part of what you want to communicate?
I mean, I'm all for it. I
Okay.
think that we need transparency. We need transparency in the food system. We need transparency in society in general. And so as an avid animal rights activist, I'm all about speaking the truth and just letting people know what the animals are going through. Because I know if I were in their position, if I were that cow, on a dairy farm, if I was that mother pig in a gestation crate, or that chicken being trampled on the ground in a crowded, facility, I mean, I would want someone to speak up for me, and I would want someone to tell the truth, not sugarcoat things, not try to downplay it, but just speak the honest truth about what is happening to these animals. It's 2023, and there is no reason that this kind of situation should be happening to innocent animals for so many reasons. And first and foremost, as I said, the animals themselves, the cruelty they face is unimaginable. I can't imagine for 1 minute, being in their position and going through what they go through. So I'm all for just being open and honest. If people don't want to hear it, they'll make it clear they don't want to hear it. And then, there's certain ways to have conversations, and there's certain ways to open the door to those conversations so that it's not a, you're not alienating people. But I do think that at the core, we have an obligation for the animals to speak up for them. They cannot do it for themselves. They can't go out and hold a protest. They cannot speak up for themselves. So we need to do it. And I feel very strongly about that obligation as a human being on this planet that we share with all earthlings.
Okay, so a family of four, a very nice family, very conscious, very caring. They go out to a diner and one person has a cheeseburger and the next person has chicken and the third person has salmon. And the fourth person just has an egg omelet, and they're just very happy there, and everyone in the diner is eating the same types of food. So tell me about the cheeseburger. What happened? How is that cow treated? How is the, let's add pork to it. So how is the pig treated? How is the chicken treated? How are these animals being treated? Because, the cardons don't look so bad and, doesn't, I don't know, not everyone understands it. So tell us about what it's like to be a cow raised for beef, a chicken raised for chicken, a fish raised for fish, a turkey for turkey, a pig raised for pork. Take us through what their life is like.
Go ahead, Hope.
Okay, well, it's big to have them all.
You're one at a time, I guess, whatever's best.
Yeah, I guess I'll focus in on chickens. We'll start with chickens. And of course, chickens are terribly genetically bred now. They are genetically bred for different traits. And there's really two different types of chickens that are raised in the industry now. One is focused on getting really heavy quickly to be killed for their flesh. The other is for laying eggs. They're genetically bred to lay eggs. And so there's two really different kinds, and they have very different experiences. So I'll start with the chickens that are raised for flesh. They live very short lives. It's interesting that a lot of people say, "Oh, I'd never eat veal because veal is a baby." It's a veal is a baby cow. It's a very young cow. Well, all of them are very young. They're all slaughtered at a very, very young age. Chickens raised for their flesh, they're weeks or months old when they are slaughtered, and they get fat and full so quickly. They're fattened up, their breast is so huge, and right away they start having problems because they are so genetically manipulated. They will be too heavy to hold their weight. Sometimes they get arthritis, pain in their legs. Their legs will snap underneath them because they can't hold their own weight. And they're just weeks and months old. It's horrifying what we've done to their little bodies. And they live in filthy, overcrowded, horrible conditions. It's miserable. It's not only physically distressing, but psychologically distressing. And they're slaughtered at a very young age, and slaughter is a horrible, brutal process. So that's what a chicken goes through who is raised for meat, flesh. And egg laying, it's just as bad. Often the industry standard is battery cages, where birds are just crammed into cages, stacked on top of one another. It would be like living your whole life in a crowded elevator. You know how uncomfortable being in a crowded elevator is. Imagine if that's all the space you had to live. And that is what it's like to be in these cages. Now the industry is moving away from the battery cages into cage free. But what I'd like to say about that, and that's what I get into in the book, is these kind of more humane labeling that's going on. And, we've done a really wonderful job as vegans and as animal advocates exposing the horrors of these battery cages. And it's true, they're awful. And I feel that we can all agree that, any little bit of relief is worth it. Of course, let's get them out of the cages. I would never, say that we shouldn't get them out of the cages. But the problem with a label like cage-free eggs is that it funnels all of the animal welfare, all the welfare issues into this one thing, the confinement, the size of the confinement in the cage. But there's so many other things that they endure. At the heartless hatcheries where they're born, they come into the world not with a mother hen. I mean, how would it be natural for a chicken to come into the world? It would be in a nest with a warm mother hen's body next to her. And do you know that actually chickens in the egg, they can communicate with their mom, clucking and cooing while they're developing in the egg. There's this wonderful bond that happens. That is all completely denied. They are never in a nest. They're never with their moms. The eggs are separated. They're hatched in these metal drawers. They're immediately thrown about like canned goods on conveyor belts. It's brutal. And in these hatcheries where they're born, there's so many that die that don't even make it to the slaughterhouse because of the intensive, horrible conditions where they're just being thrown around. They get caught in the machinery. It's absolutely awful. And then, of course, on the other end, the slaughtering experience is brutal as well. So the problem with a label like cage-free eggs is that all of the welfare concerns get kind of funneled into this one thing, and everything else is ignored. All the other horrors of their life is ignored with this label that seems like, like they're living a good life. Oh, cage-free eggs, they must be living a stress-free, wonderful life. No, not necessarily at all. In fact, I know for sure not. So we have to keep educating about these labels, what they mean, what the truth is, and that's why I wrote the book, The Humane Hoax. But yeah, eggs. I'll just to wrap up with the eggs. People often ask me, well, what's the best egg to buy, or which brand should I get? There is. Like I said in the beginning, the labels are unregulated. There is so little oversight, so little, nobody is looking into this stuff. And from one to the other, you just don't know what's happening on that farm. You really don't. And, it is, it's really, I feel it's a waste of your money. Don't waste your money, because we're just sending the industry a message that that we can that it's cage-free, free range, all these labels, it means so little. It means nothing. Really, the only humane alternative, the only humane option is to forego eggs, to not buy eggs, and or reduce your egg consumption and go vegan. It's really the only humane option.
Is it true that just one second, the male chickens or egg-laying chickens, are they thrown away? Can you clarify what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge part of it, are the roosters, the males. And in one of the chapters, actually, in this book, the second chapter that was written by Alistair Van Cleek, it's called the something like the horrible truths of backyard chicken keeping. But but he's talking about the entire egg industry. Whenever you see hens, even if it's a backyard situation where there's 8 hens giving eggs, or it's a whole, building full of cage-free chickens with thousands of birds in these indoor windowless warehouses where they're crammed on top of one another and still don't see the light of day, are breathing the ammonia of their waste. I mean, cage-free, there's a lot of horrors that they still endure. But you have to say, where are their brothers? Where are the males? For every one hen, there's a male that suffered and died or was abandoned at the hatcheries. They get killed by the millions. They're thrown away in the dumpsters out back to suffocate and die because, again, it's that genetic strand of egg-laying hens. They only want the females. The males don't profitably grow. They don't grow fast enough to profitably be slaughtered for meat. So they're
also ground up alive, the males. In
Correct.
Some facilities, it's industry standard to actually put the male chicks in a macerator. They're ground alive, which when people find that out, they're horrified. I mean, grinding up baby, cute little fuzzy chicks.
Yeah.
So that yes, everything you're saying, Hope. I would like to say something about the dairy industry when you're finished with.
Yeah. Just wrapping up. That's such a good point. And like Brittany was saying, these are these sweet little animals that we really in our culture, we see them on Easter cards, and they're seen in these beautiful in children's nurseries, fluffy, sweet little animals. And what we're doing to them that people don't know behind closed doors, this brutal, brutal slaughter of these innocent little babies. It is really horrible. So you have to think, where are their brothers whenever you're talking about hens in the egg industry?